Afternoon, everyone. I'm Judge Corey Amanda Cawthon, and we're here for the afternoon session of first appearances. I will begin by going through the first appearance docket for this afternoon session, and then we will go to the hearing docket after that. Just a reminder to everyone that everything that we say is being recorded and can be used against you at a later date, and so I encourage you to speak to your attorney before speaking on the record this afternoon. Mr. Reedy, is there anyone that the jail's requested to be called out of turn?
I have not been advised of anyone, Judge.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to start going through a list. I do have one case that has someone signed in, but that's the case that we need a Spanish interpreter for, so I'm going to leave it to the side until the
Yes,
interpreter
there's
is
an
present.
interpreter is on the way, Judge.
Thank you. All right, so first up this afternoon will be Rod Marcus.
He's here, present, Judge at Maine. He's approaching. Come on up, Mr. Marcus.
Good afternoon, Mr. Marcus. Mr. Marcus, you're before the court this afternoon on a charge for trespassing on an unoccupied structure or conveyance. I find probable cause, and I will hear from the parties.
Judge, at this time, I'm going to be requesting an ROR on Mr. Marcus' behalf. Before I proceed, I just want to know if the state has an objection with that.
It's fine, just ask for an order of no return.
All right. In light of that, I will ROR Mr. Marcus. There will be an order of no return to the property that this occurred at, which was, I believe, the Hard Rock Hotel. Mr. Marcus, a couple of things for you to know. Number one, though you're going to be released today, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of this case, which means it will be your responsibility to follow up with your attorneys in the clerk's office to monitor any future court dates that you have to be present for. Do you understand that?
Attorney's name is Alan Dershowitz.
All right, well, sir, do you understand what I just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. The other thing is, since I'm going to impose a no return order, that means that you are not to return to this location until further order of the court.
I got to ask you a question. All my possessions in life are at that hotel.
All right, I will
Can you
approve.
get...
I'm sorry, what was that?
Judge, could he go back one time with law enforcement to retrieve his property?
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. You can go back one time with, but it has to be with local law enforcement,
Okay. It'll
just
be
to
with
retrieve the
Sentinel
property.
Police.
All right, just to retrieve the property, okay? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Marcus. Daniel Gavino,
Bonded, Judge?
thank you. For the record, I find probable cause. Tavares Hill,
He's approaching. Judge, he's here at Maine.
thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Hill.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Hill, you're before the court this afternoon on two charges. One is loitering or prowling. Two is possession or use of drug paraphernalia. I find probable cause, and I'll hear from the parties.
Judge, it's me, Mr. Hill. He wishes to resolve this matter, and we want to see if the state has a plea offer for him.
Serve no return.
No return to, I think, what was this, a Walgreens?
It's 38.95 West Brown.
Okay. Adjudication
What
time
was the
served.
plea offer?
It's an adjudication time served, no return to the Walgreens.
Judge, he wishes to accept the state's offer.
Okay, very well. Mr. Hill, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. And Mr. Hill, do you understand everything we've discussed so far today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No, ma'am.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Do you need any more time to speak to your attorney?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to trial, but you're waiving that right by taking a plea today?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you are not a U.S. citizen, that taking a plea will subject you to deportation or other immigration changes?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hill, what plea do you wish to enter? Guilty or no contest?
No contest.
All right, thank you. I accept your plea and find that it is freely and voluntarily given. So, Mr. Hill, once again, your sentence will be an adjudication, time served, and the no return order will remain in place, okay? Good luck to you, sir. Yes. Windley Norales.
Judge, he bonded?
All right, thank you. For the record, I find probable cause. Melvin Muwakil.
He's here, main judge?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Muwakil.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
You are before the court this afternoon on a charge for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill. I find probable cause, and I'll hear from the parties.
Judge, in speaking with Mr. Mulwalk, my understanding, Judge, he doesn't know anything about this. From what he is about me, he's been working every day. He's completely innocent of these offenses. He's 31 years old. He's been here his whole life. Right now, he's currently living in Fort Lauderdale with his cousin. Right now, unfortunately, he's not in a financial position to post any sort of bond. He can't afford anything. His cousin, one moment. His cousin right now can't afford to post his monetary bond. My understanding is he was serving a state sentence. He was released in 2019, and from what he advised me, since 2019 till today, he hasn't picked up any new law offenses. He hasn't messed with anybody, as he said, and he hasn't touched anyone, judge, or all he does is work. So, Judge, under the circumstance, he's asking to be released ROR on this offense.
The state would object, obviously. This is a filed case, and I understand Mr. Milwaukee claims to not have done it, but he is before the court today on a filed charge that on October 28th of last year, he committed an aggravated assault and he put a knife to someone's throat. His history includes the case he just got out of prison for. 2011 robbery with a firearm or deadly weapon with a violation of probation. He was sentenced to just over 71 months state prison. 2014 possession of cocaine, just over 71 months state prison.
Mr. Lender, you're cutting out.
Well, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm talking into the mic. He was released July 27th, 2019. I've confirmed the woman whose apartment this was, she did get an injunction against Mr. Milwaukee in 2011 that is non-expiring. Considering he just got out of state prison just a mere months before this alleged incident, and he also threatened to kill the victim in this case, I'm requesting a $10,000 bond and no victim contact.
And Judge, just to reiterate, he's advising us, he's advising me that he's innocent of this. All those allegations are untrue. Judge, he wants the opportunity to fight these allegations from the outside, but right now he can't afford a monetary bond, so he's asking to be released ROR, Judge.
Yes, but I don't know about none of this, man.
All right, I understand. I understand what Mr. Milwaukee is saying. The court has to take into consideration the allegations that are in the probable cause affidavit, though. Has he had any other priors since his release last year? Set the bond at $5,000. There will be an order of no victim contact. Mr. Muwakil, I don't know if you know this person or not. I mean, based on the allegations in the probable cause affidavit, it appears that you do, but if you say that you don't, then that's fine. whether you know the person or not. No victim contact means no being in the same place at the same time, no phone calls, no text messages, no third-party contact, no social media. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, but can ask you a question?
What's
I
the
can't, I ain't got no money for no bond, man. I'm trying to fight it from the outside. I can't pay no bond, man.
I
I was
understand.
I was at work last night, man, working at a job, man. My boss, man, waxing floor for 7-Eleven, man. I ain't been in no trouble at all after I've been out on the streets, man. That's what I was saying. I can't pay no bond. I just was at work last night, waxing floors at 7-Eleven. I cannot pay no bond. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I can fight it out on the outside because I don't know anything about this predicament at this time. I just got out of prison, man. I ain't been in trouble since I've been out of prison. I don't know nothing about this. They stopped us in the middle of the street because my cousin's tag light was out. I don't know nothing about none of this.
Okay, Mr. Milwaukee, what I'm looking at is a probable cause affidavit that was, it has an alleged incident that occurred in October of 2019. So, I mean, it was some months ago, but the allegations that are in the probable cause affidavit are very serious, and I understand what you're saying to me, but I have to take that into consideration. So I'm gonna leave the bond as I said it, and that will give your attorneys time to look at the probable cause affidavit and discuss that with you, and if they need to file a motion with the division judge to address the matter further, then they will do that, okay? Good luck. $5,000, no victim contact. Anthony Shepard.
Medical reset, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Moses Marcelin.
Please approach the judge. He's here at me.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Marcelin.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Mr. Marcelin, you're before the court on one charge for driving with a suspended license, habitual. I find probable cause, and I'll hear from the parties.
Judge, unfortunately, Mr. Marshall is not going to be able to afford the $750 bond. He's been here his whole life. He lives here locally in Fort Lauderdale. He does work. He works Harper's Steak and Seafood. It's a warehouse, and he's been employed there for about 90 days. Judge, we're going to be asking at this time if the court on this nonviolent offense would consider releasing him ROR or in the alternative on pretrial release. Judge, and from what Mr. Marshall advised me, he's been clean for 5 years now.
Thank you. State.
I would definitely be opposing an ROR.
Okay.
As far as Broward goes, he's gone to state prison. He's gone to state prison for violence. He's scored enough points, Your Honor, that in 2006, 7, and 8, he picked up 3 DWS habitual offenders and was sentenced to prison on those cases. And that's a difficult thing to do without a lot of priors. The most recent was a 2013 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He was qualified as a habitual offender, sentenced to 18-month state prison. I see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6. Just DWSs, he's got 9, both the felony and misdemeanor variety. Not even taking into consideration all of his other types of priors.
Judge, considering the totality of the circumstances, and since the state said they're definitely objecting to ROR, then we're okay with the court releasing Mr. Marcelin on pretrial release.
All right. I will ROR Mr. Marcelin and release him to pretrial supervision. There will also be an order of no driving, which should go without saying if the license is currently suspended. Mr. Marcelin, a couple of things that you need to know. Your attorney is going to give you some information regarding pretrial. You will have to report to them within 24 hours. If you fail to report as instructed, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, additionally, though I shouldn't have to do it, I'm going to do it for the record. There will be an order that you are not to be driving until further order of the court. Do you understand that?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Thomas Villas.
He bonded, Judge.
Okay, thank you. For the record, I found probable cause. Kevin Borden.
He bonded, Judge?
Thank you. For the record, I find probable cause. Michael Norton.
Oh, Mr. Norton?
Judge, I don't know if we have the interpreter.
Good
Please, your
afternoon, Mr.
present, Judge.
Norton. Mr. Norton, you were before the court this afternoon on charge 1, grand theft auto, 2, resisting an officer or obstructing without violence, 3, driving while license suspended, habitual, 4, possession of open container in a motor vehicle while driving, 5, improper start from stop position, 6, failure to use a sidewalk as a pedestrian. 4, 5, and 6 are traffic citations that are not for magistrate. 7 is a traffic capias, and that relates to a driving with a suspended driver's license charge. I find probable cause for these charges, and I will hear from the parties.
Judge, financially, unfortunately, Mr. Norton can't afford to post his bond, nor his brother, who he lives with in Hollywood. Judge, considering he has a place here in Broward County, he did advise me he's works in plumbing, but financially can't post the bond. From what he advised me on count 7, I know he's here on a capias, but my understanding, Judge, it wasn't a willful miss. So I'm asking if the court would consider releasing him under pretrial release on all these offenses.
He's not a good candidate for pretrial. He's not a good candidate for ROR. He's missing court while he has that pending DWS. Because frankly, whether he appeared in court or not, the DWS is still pending. And he's not supposed to be driving, and now he's caught driving again, except this time it's a stolen vehicle. He's been to prison before for attempted carjacking with a firearm or deadly weapon. He violated probation, was sentenced to just under 15 and a half months state prison. Let's see. So, I mean, for those, I think really all those reasons outweigh the financial aspect of it.
Judge, and I understand that, and based on what Mr. Lender is saying, I do see why the court would have cause for concern. So therefore, I'd like to modify my request. I know initially I was asking for standard pretrial release. Considering what Mr. Lender said, would the court be inclined for level 2? That way he'll be under supervision with the monitor. So that's what I'm requesting for at this time.
He also currently has a warrant out of Dade County for $2,200 on a DWS for not showing up in court.
All right. I'm willing to release him to pretrial if he's going to be put on a level 2 GPS monitor. Obviously, there's going to be an order of no driving. So, counts 1, 2, and 3, as well as 7 will be RORs to pretrial. Will be placed on a level 2 GPS monitor. Mr. Norton, a couple of things that you will need to know. Though you're going to be released, you must report to pretrial within 24 hours. You'll be getting that information from your attorney. If you fail to report to pretrial as instructed, pretrial is reminding me because there's a GPS, they're going to be coming to you. I apologize. I'm so used to everybody going on standard. So pretrial will come to you so that they can fit you with the GPS monitor before you're released. Okay, do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you understand that I have imposed the order of no driving, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Our Spanish interpreter is present, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's like a bizarre multitasking.
All right. On page 4, Vladimir Juarez Figueroa. We have the interpreter.
Judge, he's here, but he doesn't require a Spanish interpreter, or is his family?
His family does.
His family.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Juarez is approaching, Judge. I asked them And he declined to serve as his public defender. He said he was gonna hire private counsel.
Okay. All right. So first, for my interpreter, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to interpret from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability? I do. Thank you very much. All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Figueroa.
Hello, Your Honor, how are you?
I'm well, and Mr. Figueroa, you understand that you are entitled to be represented by an attorney for this hearing?
Can you repeat that, Your Honor?
Do you understand that you are entitled to be represented by an attorney for this hearing?
Yes,
And are you declining the services of the public defender for this hearing?
that's correct.
Okay. All right. For the record, you are before the court this afternoon on 4 charges. Count 1, DUI, alcohol or drugs, first offense. Count 2, resisting an officer or obstructing with violence. Count 3, disobeying or avoiding a traffic device. That is not for magistrate. And 4 is for unlawful speed. That is also not for magistrate. I find probable cause. And let me first ask, because there is family present.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, are you here just to observe or to speak today?
I want to observe and talk also.
Okay. So something that I tell everyone is that everything that we say is being recorded and can be used against him as well as potentially yourself at a later date. Knowing that, do you still wish to speak?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to place you under oath, and then I will let you tell me what you want to say. Will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
And will you please state your name?
My name is Edenilson Juarez.
Thank you, Mr. Juarez. I'm going to ask you to speak into the microphone, which is at the podium, so that he can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Yo lo que quiero decir,
What I
Es-
want to say
él es un gran hijo
is he's a great son,
y nunca a sus 28 años ha
And
tenido
never
ningún problema con la
in
ley.
28 years has he have a problem with the law.
Por lo tanto,
That
quiero
is
pedirle
why I would like to ask you,
que por favor me le dé
To
una
please.
oportunidad
give him an opportunity
de no afectarle su vida a futuro.
of not affecting his future or his life.
Que le dé una
To
oportunidad
give him an opportunity.
porque él es un gran hijo
Because he's a great son.
y realmente pues yo lo aprecio mucho y me
And I
duele
care for him a lot and it hurts me
lo que ha pasado,
what has happened.
pedir disculpas
I apologize
y sé que yo voy a hablar con él
and I know that I'm going to talk to him
y eso sé que no va a volver a ocurrir.
and I know that that's not going to happen again.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias, señor.
Now, I'm going to, just so that you understand,
Entiende.
I'm going to ask the state attorney
Voy a preguntarle a la fiscalía
what their recommendation is with regard to bond and release conditions, because that's the only thing that I'm addressing today.
que estoy aquí para hacer.
All right. Mr. Linder?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. He has no criminal history.
Mr. Juarez, are you the one that's going to be posting his bond?
¿Es el que va a fijar su fianza, depositar su fianza?
Sí.
Yes.
He has a $500 bond right now.
Una fianza de $500 ahora mismo.
Are you going to be able to post
¿Va
that?
a poder depositar eso?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, in light of that, I will leave the bond in place on count 1. Count 2 will be an ROR. And Mr. Juarez will be able to post his bond following today's hearing. Good luck, Mr. Figueroa.
Thank you.
Kevon Chapman. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chapman.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Chapman, you're before the court on charges 1, possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. 2, resisting an officer, obstructing without violence. 3, fleeing or eluding law enforcement at a high speed. 4, reckless driving, first offense. 5 is a felony probation violation with a no bond hold. 6, operating a vehicle without a valid driver's license. 7 is a felony probation violation with a no bond hold. I find probable cause. I do see that Mr. Chapman has a hearing before his division judge tomorrow morning on the VOPs, and I'll hear from the parties as to the other counts.
Judge, considering he has a no bond hold on 5 and 7, my understanding he's 18 years old, going to school, I'm going to be requesting a $1,000 bond on Mr. Chapman's behalf on count 3.
I don't believe a $1,000 bond is appropriate based on these allegations, considering he was fleeing from law enforcement at speeds up and around 100 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, weaving in and out of traffic, making an improper turn. Thankfully, no one was hurt. All this happening while, Your Honor, he's on probation less than 1 month on 2 separate three total grand theft autos. He's been on probation for 3 years, and he hasn't been able to go a month without violating. I'm requesting a $3,500 bond on count 3.
Bond will be set on count 3 at $2,000. Mr. Chapman will see his division judge tomorrow morning. Thank you. Ronald Janete.
North Broward, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Janete.
How you doing?
I am well. Mr. Janete, you're before the court this afternoon on an ad charge. This is a charge for petty theft, 2nd degree, 3rd or subsequent offense. I find probable cause, and I'll hear from the parties.
Mr. Janete has several no bond holds, Judge. I'd ask you to leave the bond in place.
Okay. All right. In light of that, the standard bond will remain in place on this charge, and Mr. Janete will be able to see his division judge to address the no bond holds. Good luck, Mr. Janete. All right. Now we're going to go to the hearing docket. I will start with the misdemeanor docket. First will be Alexis Dominguez. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Dominguez.
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
I am well. All right, Mr. Linder, what's going on in Mr. Dominguez's case?
Your Honor, he has not been held 100, from what I can tell, 182 days on this charge, just so the court's aware.
Okay.
He's had a separate felony that he was sentenced to 270 days on. He's completed his sentence.
All right.
That's why he's before the court today. Just want to see one thing. Yeah, he was actually charged with a grand theft December 11th of last year, and it was downfiled to a petty theft. If he wishes to resolve this matter, yeah, the problem is, Your Honor, that it appears the allegations are he stole the victim's bicycles from his residence, and is captured on surveillance So, as far as I know, there could be restitution issues. I can also tell you, I understand that that pretrial put this on their own, but I see the defense did file a motion to reduce bond today. This case is in Judge Solomon's division.
His bond on this count is currently set at $100, is that right?
Yeah, his bond is $100, Judge. I'd be asking you to consider an ROR. If we have to settle out the restitution at a future date, that can be done. It seems he has been in custody for quite some time. And Mr. Linder is quite correct. He has completed his sentence on count one. And now is, the only thing that's holding him here, as far as I can tell, is this $100 bond.
I would ask, Your Honor, because it does appear he has a history involving theft both out of Broward, Palm Beach. His last arrest prior to this was a Capia, so if the court's inclined to release him, I would ask that he be supervised.
All right. So, Mr. Dominguez, what I'm
Yes, ma'am.
willing to do is, I will release you ROR on this charge, but it's going to be to standard pretrial supervision.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a couple
Up
things.
until this case is resolved?
Correct.
Okay.
So
So you want me to report to downtown Fort Lauderdale?
that's correct. You're going to have to report to them within 24 hours. All right.
Okay, like by either, well, if I get released this afternoon, I'll probably not make it in time, but I'll be there first thing in the morning.
That's correct. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you, I have.
And I have no phone or no address because I've become homeless since I've been locked up for 6 months. But I can always stay in touch with them and abide by the rules that they give me.
Yes. So pretrial will explain all of that to you. All
Okay,
right.
so report to pretrial release.
Report to pretrial. If you fail to report to them as I
No,
instructed you.
I will not fail, ma'am.
Okay. Well, just remember, if you do, then a warrant gets issued. Okay.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
All right.
And then I gotta do all this all over again.
So it will be your responsibility to keep up with any of your future court dates and to abide by the conditions that pretrial puts on you,
Yeah,
okay?
I've been on pretrial release before, so I kinda, but I'll go by what the rules
Yeah,
that they
let's-
give me to do.
Okay,
I have a
all right,
repeat performance this
all
time.
right. Good luck, Mr. Dominguez.
So I'm ROR today.
That's correct.
Thank you very
To
much, Judge.
pretrial, okay? All right, you're welcome.
At pretrial release.
Yes,
I just gotta
yes. Report to them tomorrow. Reginald Robinson,
North Broward.
good afternoon, Mr. Robinson.
How you doing, man?
I am well. Okay, is Mr. Robinson here for a second look? Okay, and I think his bond is set at $1,000, is that right?
Yes,
All right,
Judge,
Mr.
and he's
Reedy?
not going to be able to post that bond. I'm going to be asking the court to consider pretrial release for Mr. Robinson. He's lived in South Florida for an extensive period of time. He has a job at a tire shop. He has had some prior contacts with the criminal justice system. He's been living in the same location for 1 year, and I just don't think he's going to be able to come up with a monetary bond on this charge, Judge.
Your Honor, I don't believe Mr. Robinson is a good candidate for pretrial. This will now be his third pending case. He was arrested January 11th for possession of cocaine and was released on the 13th after posting a $1,000 bond. He also has a pending Grand Theft Auto and DWLS. And in this case, it's alleged that he went into Macy's, was trying to steal, got caught, or was stealing, got caught by a loss prevention officer, and to put it quite frankly, when the loss prevention officer tried to stop him, Mr. Robinson grabbed the loss prevention officer's genital area.
Right, at this time, I'm going to leave the bond in place as it is. All right. All right, we'll go over to the felony docket now. Benny Wimbush.
Your Honor, and just well, I'll wait till he gets up there.
Which facility is he at?
Judge at Maine.
Thank you.
The wrong case was put on the docket.
Okay.
It should be, and maybe the docket was corrected. It was originally, the case that was originally set was 2256 CF10A. Should be 2977 CF10A.
I have the 256 case number. So it should be 977. This is a second look, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Let me just see here. And I believe Mr. Wimbush's bond is currently set at 3,100 total.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Mr. Romero, what do you want to tell me?
Judge, no one can afford to post a bond, not his father. That's who Mr. Wimbush lives with. He and his father work in landscaping. They're basically living paycheck to paycheck. So, Judge, no one's going to afford to post his bond, so that's why he's asking to be released on pretrial release.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court take no action. Frankly, Mr. Wimbush is fortunate that his bond wasn't revoked over the weekend. You see, the case number that was originally put down, that's his grand theft auto case that he was arrested on January 7th of this year and posted a $2,500 bond. He was then rearrested on this case on January 24th for burglary of a structure and theft. He also has a lengthy history prior to that.
Bond's in place for the time being. Thank you. Lawrence Baker. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Baker.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I am well, and Mr. Baker is here on a second look as well. I believe his bond is currently set at 2,000 total. Is that correct?
Is it 2000 Ivy?
All right. Mr. Reedy, you want to talk to me about this case? Mr. Reedy?
I think he's on the phone.
Judge, he obviously can't afford the bond. He's still in jail. If his prior record is not too bad and he has a viable address, I'd ask the court to consider pretrial release.
He's got pending. He's out on a felony DWS, but more importantly, his history is bad.
There's a pending driver's
DWS
suspended
habitual
license.
offender. Just
Sorry for that.
the charges.
I've never-
The charges he's been sentenced to state prison on out of Dade County in the past, Your Honor. Two counts of attempted first-degree murder. Convicted felon in possession of a firearm. 2 counts of carjacking with the firearm or deadly weapon. Burglary with assault. Grand theft auto. Resisting with violence. Out of Broward from 2015, he was convicted of uttering a forged instrument in grand theft. Similar charges to what he's before the court on today. 2 years Florida State Prison. Based on his history, Your Honor, I do not believe Mr. Baker is a good candidate for pretrial.
Can I speak?
As long as it's not about the facts of your case, Mr. Baker.
No, it's not. Basically all this stuff, it was credit time served that they gave me for that. I didn't know I had a prison sentence. I didn't go to prison for that last case. They gave me credit time served. I thought it was for county time or whatever, but it was the same type of situation. As far as the other stuff, it's all from the 90s. I haven't been in trouble except for that forged instrument in 2014. I haven't been in any trouble. I never missed court. I'm always I do my best to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm just right now I'm going through something with my family. I can't really contact anyone, and covering the bond it doesn't look good right now. I mean, if we could do pre-trial, I would be thankful for the courts and everything.
Okay. All right, hold on.
Judge, I would just add, he can stay with his grandmother. He's working as a barber. Since he got out of prison, he's gotten his barber's license, and that's what he does for a living. But there just isn't enough financial resources to get him out on this bond. And I think, if I'm not mistaken from what Mr. Linder was saying, his last prior, I believe, was in 2014.
All right, well, let me just ask this. Does he have any failures to appear in his history?
He does have a prior failure to appear, Your Honor, and I don't know that it hasn't been an issue one way or the other with this pending case, because, and I'm not sure why, but Judge Duffy accepted a waiver of appearance on that case. So he hasn't had to show up in court, which frankly I don't get with someone with his prior convictions in his past, but that's not my argument to make. I wasn't there.
When was the failure to appear that you mentioned?
I'd have to check, Your Honor, but I mean,
Don't say anything at this point, Mr. Baker. The state attorney is speaking.
Okay.
Okay.
2015, and it was the case connected to the case that he ended up going to prison on, Your Honor. And
I didn't go.
and
All
I,
right, hold on, Mr. Baker, hold on.
Your Honor, and I understand failure to appear is one part of it, but with his history and his reason for taking the plea on an attempted murder, that's his reason. But at the end of the day, he has 2 convictions for attempted murder, 2 convictions for carjacking with a firearm, 2 convictions for burglary with a battery. All punishable by life offenses. And now, he's before the court. This is a crime of dishonesty. He admitted that he was trying to utter a check in someone else's name fraudulently. See, and I'm more concerned that, Mr. Baker keeps responding like he has no idea about anything I'm talking about.
No, it's not that I don't have any idea. The thing is, it's 2 convictions because I actually went to outside court and they re-sentenced me. So it looks like 2 convictions. There's only 1 conviction. I've never been punished twice for the same.
Okay. I don't want the back and forth between the two of you.
I understand.
What was the most recent? I understand there's a pending. You said there's a pending DWLS. What was
That
the most
too.
recent prior before that?
2015, uttering a forged instrument in grand theft, and he was sentenced to 2 years in state prison in November 14th of 2017.
2017 is when he was released.
No, that's when he was sentenced. I don't know how much game time he had.
Oh, okay. I see.
I was released on that date, that's all.
I understand that the priors are serious, but obviously I have to take the entire picture into consideration, as to what to do in this specific case. So, Mr. Baker, with regard to your other pending case, I obviously cannot speak to that. With regard to this case, I'm going to give you a chance and put you on pretrial supervision.
Thank you very much, Honor.
So hopefully you won't make me regret that.
I will not, no. I will not.
All right, you're going to get some information there about pretrial supervision. You're going to have to report to pretrial within 24 hours. If you fail to do that, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. This is downtown across from the courthouse?
Yes, you're going to get directions before you're released, okay?
Thank you.
All right, so that means that charges 1 and 2 will be RORs.
Good luck, Lawrence.
Thank you.
You got a big break today.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Good luck, Mr. Baker.
Okay.
Brayon Benton,
North Broward.
Thank you.
Yeah, but can we reset it for tomorrow, y'all?
Well, Your Honor,
Well, let me
frankly,
just see what's going on. Yep.
do you want to hear from me or the deputy?
Deputy, what's the situation? Why do we have to reset him? Or why are you asking me to reset him?
Well, the movement deputy went up to get him, and she said that he just walked around in the cell naked. He wouldn't put any clothes
So
on.
he's inappropriate, deputy?
Yes.
And what I was going to be advising the court of today, he has a lengthy history of mental health, being a mental health court.
Okay.
So frankly, I think he needs to go to, before his judge, Judge Merrigan, where I think some more details can be brought to his attention on how to, best to proceed.
I see his bond is currently set at $1,000. So, based on the information provided in Mr. Reedy, I would assume you have no objection to that.
I don't, Judge, but could you just give me 1 second?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, so we saw that. The next guy.
No, Judge, we don't have an objection.
Okay, so what I will do is, in Mr. Benton's case, I'm gonna leave the bond in place, and these issues will need to be raised with his division judge so that he can possibly be transferred to mental health court with Judge Ford.
That'd be fine, Judge.
All right, thank you. So there'll be no need to reset that. Okay, next will be Sean Jacobs. Thank you.
Judge May.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Jacobs.
Good afternoon.
And Mr. Jacobs is here for a second look as well. I believe his bond is set at $750 right now. Is that right?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Romero, you want to go ahead and go first?
Yes, Judge, I'm going to be asking for Mr. Jacobs to be released on pre-trial release. My understanding right now, he is not working. If he gets released, he will be going to primary purpose and residing there. My understanding is they'll let him reside there. They'll have him basically give him an opportunity to seek employment so that he could pay residence. And I believe they give him about like 2 weeks or so to find employment. Having said that, Judge, my understanding, well, I know Mr. Lender's going to be bringing up the fact that Mr. Jacobs was recently before the court. On my understanding, I believe he was here about a week ago, and he resolved a petty theft, public similar situation. But before that, I believe his priors were dated about 10 years ago. Now, reviewing the PC affidavit, my understanding is the alleged items was beer and meat. He left the items with the store, but when confronted by law enforcement, he didn't run away. He stayed on the scene and was cooperative. He could have tried and run, but he didn't. So, Judge, I'm asking at this time that the court on this nonviolent offense would consider releasing him on pretrial release.
First of all, he didn't appear before the court. It looks like the case was resolved on a Sunday. Your Honor, he was just arrested January 18th for a theft at a different Publix, pled it out and was released on the 20th, then gets arrested 4 days later for committing a new felony-level theft at a different Publix. And the idea isn't whether he runs from loss prevention. The idea is he's not supposed to be stealing to begin with. And there really is no reason at this point to have confidence that if he's released at this point, just let out, that he's not going to commit another theft.
Judge, there is, because basically before that offense, he hasn't been in trouble in 10 years. I know it's a felony. He stole food and beverage, but right now, Judge, he can't afford to post a bond, so I'm asking him to be released in the supervision pending the the disposition of this case.
It wasn't like he was stealing, he was dying of thirst, so he bought some water or stole some water. He's stealing beer. This wasn't, an issue of survival.
All right. Judge Barner said when he came before her over the weekend, she left the standard bond in place with an order of no return to the Publix this allegedly occurred at. So based on the circumstances at this time, I'm going to leave her order in place and bond will remain at $750. The no return order will remain in effect.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Your Honor, at the time, it was a necessity.
Don't talk about the facts.
It's just, if you could please just release me, on the pretrial, I promise I will not go to another Publix or anything. This was a very bad mistake on my part. It was a poor decision. I mean, I'm not trying to, I just don't know what to say, to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't been in any trouble in 10 years, and I just hit a very low spot in my life, and I just need an opportunity to prove myself. This is why I'm going to the primary purpose over living facility, and they've already agreed to take me, and everything's already kind of been worked out, and things are just going to get a lot better. And I've never missed a court date in my life. Never.
And Judge, as Mr. Linder pointed out, I believe this was beer, so we wouldn't object. Also, if the court wanted to impose an order as far as no alcohol consumption, and he'd be subject to random testing.
Yes, ma'am. That would be absolutely fine.
Your Honor, my concern is the stealing. And excuse me, sir, the theft before was, let's see, 14, 17, 22, 25. 25 different types of deodorant, 2 toothpaste, 4 toothpaste, 6 toothpaste, 10 different toothpaste. So it's not just an alcohol thing, it's a taking property that doesn't belong to him thing. And this isn't a poor decision. He was fortunate to just get a time served plea. He knows he's not supposed to steal, and he couldn't go more than 4 days without stealing again. And I understand he's making a very sympathetic plea, Your Honor, but the reality is the reality, and he just hasn't shown that he can be trusted not to commit a new law offense.
Your Honor, please, I'm telling you, like I said, I've never missed a court date, and I will not enter another store without supervision if I need to buy groceries or anything like that. I promise you. I mean, I'm not a thief. If you look at my record, the last time was, I mean, I am.
Yeah, because the last time it was a 2010
Okay,
case.
hold on. Everybody just stop for a minute. Mr. Jacobs, you need to listen to what your attorney is telling you because the case that we are dealing with is a potential felony. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, please do not say anything else about the facts of this case.
Yes, ma'am. If you do release me on pretrial, I will. Nothing will happen. I will not miss a court date. I will certainly be here.
See,
I give you my word.
see, Judge, if something does happen, it doesn't really. Giving his word doesn't cost him anything.
It does. Well, I will be in violation of pretrial, so there will be a cost to that.
Does he have any failures to appear in his history?
I'd have to see.
While you're checking that, I want to ask, Mr. Jacobs mentioned the sober house that he was planning on going to. Have you actually already been accepted into that program?
Yes, I spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, and they told me when I was ready, because I was at First Step Sober House, and I was going to be departing there, going to primary purpose, and then this happened in the interim.
But do you know that they're still going to take you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They will. The gentleman that owns it, I did 6 months of one-on-one therapy with him. He's a certified addiction counselor, and that's what I want. That's why I wanted to go back there, because I wanted to get back into the fellowship and the program and get back into therapy.
Well, what I could do, and I'm not speaking to Mr. Jacobs now, I'm speaking to the attorneys into pretrial, is if I were to put him on pretrial supervision, then it would definitely be with random testing, but we could do it pending verification of the address for the sober living house that he's referencing pretrial. Mr. Jacobs, what's the actual name of the place that you're talking about?
It's, see, I just know it as primary purpose.
Primary purpose?
Yes.
Pompano?
No, it's in Fort Lauderdale, State Road 84 and like 595 area.
Okay, what was that? He says that they're willing to accept him, which is why I would like to do this pending verification of the address.
Judge and Jacobs, he did give me the contact person for that program. I believe his name is Paul Soar. And I believe he's, from what Mr. Jacobs advised me, he spelled S-O-H-R, Soar.
Because what's going to happen is pretrial will be calling this person to verify that they will take him. That's the only way that I'm going to put him on pretrial.
That's fine, Judge.
Right. If they tell pretrial otherwise that they're not going to take him, then he will not be on pretrial supervision.
I understand, and it would be in place.
Yes. Well, it would just be the same way that we normally do it, which is just as long as pretrial can confirm that they're going to take him, then he'll be able to be released too. Whether they come pick him up or he goes there, that'll be up to him to make those arrangements. Right. Yes.
And I can tell you, normally, when people have been released to understand that they're going into treatment, it has been custody to custody, because we've been there before where, you know, they get released and it just never happens. If the whole point of this is to make sure he's gonna get the help, then let's make sure it's gonna happen where he doesn't have an opportunity to change his mind once he gets out of custody. That they will come, pick him up, and make sure he gets to where he needs to go so he can start getting the help he says he needs.
What I don't know is whether the facility that he's going to provides transportation or not. So that's the issue.
We're trying to call him, Judge, but we're not getting a response.
And that's the other thing, and I tried calling him too, and when you call, you get a beep, which is not encouraging.
Well, if pretrial can't get a hold of them, then he won't be going on pretrial.
It does appear they have an email address, Judge.
Are you trying to think of how to do it? All right, let me just, I just want to clarify so that we know what's going to happen here. If pretrial is not able to get a hold of them to confirm the address, then his bond remains in place. Is that correct? Okay.
Killed
All right, then this is what I'm doing.
patient or client at First Step Sober House.
I will place Mr. Jacobs on pretrial pending verification that this program is going to take him. As I have now said multiple times, pretrial will try to get a hold of them. If they're able to get a hold of them and confirm it, then he will be released to pretrial supervision and he will go into the program where he must reside. During that time, he will be subjected to random testing. That means no alcohol, no intoxicants. But if pretrial is not able to get a hold of them to confirm the information that we've discussed today, then the $750 bond will remain in place. All right? I'm going to sign the order to that effect. All right, Mark Tyndall. Thank you.
No problem. How you doing, Your Honor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Tyndall. All right, Mr. Tyndall is here on a second look as well. His bond is set at $1,000 total. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Well, Judge, if he's on probation, then he's already being supervised by the Department of Corrections. He has lived here all his life. He's lived in the same place for the last year. He does have contact with the criminal justice system in his past. I believe that he has been out of prison since 2011. He has a medical condition that prevents him from working. Therefore, he has not been able to save up any money. So he does not have the capacity to post a monetary bond.
BOP.
I can't hear you, Your Honor.
He is wants to represent himself.
One moment,
was-
Mr. Tyndall.
There was supposed to be a Ferretta hearing. I don't believe it was held because of this arrest. Conflict counsel's been appointed on that case. It's still pending before Judge McHugh now.
All right. Based on the circumstances at this time, I'm going to leave the bond in place as it is. All right.
Can
Good
I
luck.
get a question, Your Honor?
What's the question, Mr. Tyndall?
I mean, can I get a reduction of bond or something, Your Honor? Because really, Your Honor, the situation was me was trying to go to a hotel room. So I
Don't talk about the facts of your case,
all
Mark.
right, no facts to the case.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm just trying to be able to be out there to provide for myself, Your Honor. I mean, I gave up the crime life. I really don't feel like I'm suitable for jail. I'm 32 years old. I'm tired of in and out of jail. I don't mind doing the right thing. I have no problem following the laws. Those are laws are being abided by the way it is adorned by God. That's my whole thing. Everybody take oaths in life.
I understand, Mr. Tyndall. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm leaving the bond in place today. It looks like you're going to be going before your division judge shortly anyway to address some of those other issues, okay? All right. Good luck. Next will be Mark Zeiger.
I believe he's in Conti, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. All right. Conti, do you have Mark Zeiger?
Yes, Your Honor, it's coming.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Zeiger.
How are you?
I am well. All right, Mr. Zeiger's here on a second look hearing as well. His bond is currently set at $1,000.
Okay.
All right, I'll hear from the parties.
Judge, it appears Mr. Zeiger is unable to post this monetary bond. It is a nonviolent offense. I'd ask the court if his prior record is not too horrendous to consider pretrial release for Mr. Zeiger, provided that he has an address, a place to go.
I do in Miami.
Okay, let me hear from the state first.
What is his residence? I mean, Miami's a big place.
Mr. Zeiger, what's the address that you would be residing at?
I don't know it precisely. It's San Simeon on 125th Street in Miami.
Whose residence is that?
My aunt.
I see an Hollywood address there, and frankly, if he gave the Hollywood address, I was gonna say fine, because then it was backed up. I don't have a problem, I don't see a record, I don't have a problem with pretrial, but again, I'm gonna be asking for pending verification. If what he says is true, it shouldn't take long for pretrial to reach his aunt and confirm that he lives there.
Do you have a phone number?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll work. What's her name?
Fran Michelson, 305-893-4002.
Did you get that? What is it again?
305
Uh-huh.
893
893
4002.
4002. And her name was what again?
Fran Michelson.
Fran, okay. All right, Mark, listen carefully to what the judge tells you.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Zeiger, yes, sorry. What's the matter, pretrial? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Are you calling him at the jail? Oh, okay. All right, pretrial is going to try to call Miss Michelson right now. I mean, I can just put him on, do the same thing that we did with the other case, so you don't have to write the second, okay. All right, so Mr. Zeiger, here's what we're gonna do. If pretrial gets in touch with your aunt and they can verify her address and that you will be residing there, then you will be released to pretrial supervision, all right?
All right.
If they are not able to get in touch with her, or if they do get in touch with her and she says that you're not gonna be living there, then your bond will remain in place. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Okay, all right, so it's gonna be pretrial pending verification. Now, you need to understand also that if you're released to pretrial, then you have to abide by whatever conditions they place on you, and you will have to report to pretrial within 24 hours of your release. If you don't do that, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Understood.
All right. All right, so I'm gonna put pending verification of address on here. Okay. All right, good luck, Mr. Zeiger. Sean Scott. Mr. Scott. All right, Mr. Scott's here for a second look. His bond is currently set at a total of $2,600. Is that correct? All right. I'll hear from the parties.
It appears that Mr. Scott is unable to post that bond, Judge. It looks like a burglary of an unoccupied conveyance, tampering with evidence. I'd ask the court to consider pretrial release from Mr. Scott if he has a verifiable address.
Mr. Scott is transient. He's got a pending trespass out of Alabama from last year. 2019 out of Texas, vehicle burglary. 2016 out of Texas, criminal mischief. 2016 out of Colorado, one case of trespass, another case of identity theft. Last year out of Palm Beach County, and he just pled these charges out November 1st of last year. Burglary of a conveyance, attempted burglary of a conveyance, and trespass. And out of Escambia County in 2015, trespass and resisting without violence. He's children at large in Broward.
All right, on Mr. Scott's case, I'm going to leave the bonds in place as is at this time. All right, good luck, Mr. Scott. Next will be Harry Spone.
No problem, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This is, I believe, is a
Good afternoon, Mr.
$1,000
Spohn.
bond on possession of fentanyl.
Yes.
My understanding, I asked confinement status, and I've been advised that Judge Barner
Yes.
signed a SAP order when Mr. Spahn came through.
Right. She did sign that order?
Ivy,
Okay.
based on that, Your Honor, I would ask that the court take no action at this time.
All right. Mr. Reedy?
Pascal Chensi from the Public Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Spahn. Your Honor, it would appear that he's been in custody for over 4 days. He's charged with a nonviolent offense. He currently does not work. He's actually disabled and he's living off his SSI checks. He's been a long-term resident of Broward County. He's been here for 24 years and also Florida for 24 years. He does have family in the Broward County area as well. We would ask for pretrial release.
All right. Based on the circumstances, I'm going to leave the bond in place at this time. And hopefully Mr. Spahn will be able to get into and start the SAP program soon. All right, good luck, Mr. Spohn. Okay, and I believe that brings us to the end of our afternoon docket for first appearances. So I'll see everybody back here again tomorrow morning. Thank you.